And what's up, everybody? We're back with another episode of the Talking NASCAR podcast. Once again, being joined by Hitmaster for episode number
Hello.
82 of the Talking NASCAR podcast. And we got a lot to talk about in today's episode. We're going to recap everything that happened at Sonoma. It was actually a pretty wild weekend. We're going to go over how the repave worked out, and we'll say good riddance to Fox. As it was their last weekend broadcasting for the season. So, well, except for trucks, but there we go. Not really a lot of silly season news. I got a chance to attend the Spartan 100, however, at our local racetrack, and for the JEGS tour, CRA tour. I'll talk about my experience with that. Also, there is and then we can preview everything that's going on as the Cup Series makes their first ever trip to the Iowa Speedway this weekend. As does the other series are also going there. So it's a very, very highly anticipated weekend. So we're going to go over everything that we can try to expect there. So should be a good episode. But let's just jump into it first. Talking about Sonoma. So for the Xfinity series, it was actually a pretty boring Xfinity race for the most part, until the beginning of the third stage when there was a 14 car pileup in the third turn, because Chandler Smith got pile drived, and took out a ton of good cars. Ty Gibbs was running really, really well, and he got taken out. That was pretty funny, honestly, because I don't like Ty Gibbs. Anyway. And then there was a lot of crazy restarts later in the race as well. Austin Hill put himself in contention to win late, but he got booted on a late restart. And it was really the rest of the race was pretty much dominated by Shane Van Gisbergen, which you have to expect because it's a road course race. He, other than Ty Gibbs, he was really the only one that was able to lead laps the entire day, outside of Austin Hill, but that was because of pit strategy, and he ultimately couldn't hold on to it. But of course, Shane Van Gisbergen back-to-back Xfinity Series wins, in really strong
Tyler
fashion.
called it.
I did.
You called it last week. You said Shane Van Gisbergen, so
It seems as though I'm a smart in one facet or another,
let's see if we can go to the back to back to back.
Well, we're not on a road course this weekend, so
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, true. Um, and then the Cup race was the same. A lot of cautions. I think they tied a track record for amount of cautions. And all the cautions pretty much came in the first two stages of the race as well, which was insane. It took out a lot of drivers, including Denny Hamlin, who lent out early with a blown motor. Ty Gibbs wrecked out early, thank God. Chase Briscoe got into an incident as well. Garry left me. Oh, he's back. Where'd you go?
What?
Where did you go?
I heard like freaking noises on my door, and then all of a sudden I go out and I just see my cat is just banging on my door.
Cat moment.
I thought someone was in the house.
Robbery?
Thought I was gonna die.
Robbery. Anyway. So Chase Briscoe had troubles after a spin. He ended up leaving the race. And then there was also a big one in the Cup race as well. It's real. Sonoma is not a track where you normally see the big ones, so the fact that we saw two in one weekend is pretty impressive. This was an 11 car pileup, and going into turn 11, Josh Berry just absolutely sent it. I mean, Brian Vickers would be proud if he saw that happen. Berry just sends it into the turn, collects 10 other cars with him. It was crazy to see. Holy moly. But after all that settled out, the third stage was still very competitive. It came down between several cars, including Martin Truex and Chris Buescher, who were both fighting for wins. Kyle Larson, though, was able to get into the mix late. And Truex ran out of gas on the last lap of the race. 2 weeks in a row now that we have said somebody running out of gas as they're going for the win. Falling from what would have been a second place finish for Truex all the way back to 27th. So, but Kyle Larson was able to get the win. I believe it's the second or third win of 2024. I don't remember. So good win there for Larson. And we had a good week in my fantasy as well. We picked AJ Allmendinger, and he got 6th, so that's not bad. There's also a late tangle with Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain that caused some post-race altercations. So still waiting on some of the bigger details from that, but knowing Kyle Busch, there will probably be some later retaliations. Though it has been a few weeks since the North Wilkesboro incident, and there really hasn't been anything about that. So
I was just about to say,
maybe not.
I saw a little meme picture of that certain thing with Ricky Stenhouse, where he's standing on the tire and Kyle Busch is headed, but it showed on Ricky Stenhouse's top of Ricky Stenhouse's head, Kyle Busch waiting for Ross Chastain to come back into the garage, and then it showed above Kyle Busch's head, Ross Chastain.
Funny. So we got a couple things to answer though before we stop talking about Sonoma. First was the repave. This was the first race with the new repave, and to be honest with you, I didn't really see any changes with the track. I thought it was the same as it always has been. Some drivers were saying that the tire wear was less, but there was less grip. But really, from a viewer's perspective, there was not a whole lot of differences. It raced the same. Honestly, at any point, it was more exciting racing. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come. Sonoma's never been like one of the most boring tracks on the schedule, but it's really hit or miss sometimes. And it was good to see it have a good showing. It gives hope for the future, so that's always good. So I didn't think it was a terrible repave. There's definitely been worse. Texas.
Texas. Get it right.
And then the other thing we sign off with from Sonoma, good riddance, Fox. Here's what I gotta say, Fox. Double birds for you. So the Truck Series broadcast is obviously still continuing throughout the entire season, but Xfinity, they are fully done with. There's no more Xfinity on Fox again. This was their last one, and it was cool to watch the last broadcast. They were doing some cool flashbacks to previous moments that were pretty crazy, and they talked about a lot of big things that from past races that they've done for broadcasts. So that was cool. But also the Cup Series is done with Fox for the rest of the season. Thank God. Man, were they horrible this year. Holy moly, they were terrible. And, they had to give the viewers one last fuck you with 10 laps to go in the race, at the Cup race. 10 laps to go. Now, I didn't watch the Cup race. I watched the first lap, and then I went to the Spartan 100 that we'll talk about in a little bit. So I didn't see this happen, but I saw it online while we were there. That with about 10 laps to go, or a little less than 10 laps to go, Fox decides it's a great idea to do a full commercial break, not a side-by-side commercial break, a full commercial break. And what is it for? It's not for regular advertisements. It's not for sponsors or anything. It's to promote Kevin Harvick's podcast.
Come on, guys. We all know the Talking NASCAR podcast is better than Kevin Harvick's
True.
broadcast?
True.
Podcast.
Very true. But also, why the hell are you doing a full-length commercial break with 10 to go for a fucking podcast? Like,
what
are
would have
you
been more?
serious? You're that desperate? Is Kevin Harvick literally pointing a gun to the producer's head and saying, if you don't promote my podcast right now, I'm going to shoot you?
Do it, you bitch. Do it. Do it
Like,
or
are you
else you see
fucking
this
kidding me?
fucking gun.
Promote it in the first 10 laps of the race, not the last 10 laps. What the hell?
Or, before the race.
Or any other time instead of right then and there. Like, wait till the race is over. Not a big deal, okay? What's going to happen? 2 less people give a shit? Fuck off, okay? That's just really shitty on their part. And I know it's not the actual broadcaster's fault, right? Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick, Mike Joy, I mean, they're not at fault. They're just listening to what other people have to say. Well, except maybe Kevin Harvick. Speaking of Kevin Harvick, it was his first time in the booth with Cup full time. How did he do? I thought he did okay. I don't think he's a terrible broadcaster. I don't think he's great. But he's not terrible. I still prefer Tony Stewart in the booth, but I know that's never going to happen full time. So
I prefer Jeff Gordon.
this is true. I did like Jeff Gordon.
I prefer Jeff Gordon or Dale Jr. because they know more than Kevin Harvick does.
I don't know. I think Harvick is good with what he knows, but he's just kind of like a middle of the road guy, But he's a good kind of median ground between the very familiar voice of Mike Joy and then whatever the fuck comes out of Clint Boyer's mouth during most races. So
Clint Boyer is the new. Everyone's gonna hate me saying this. Other than the Boogities, because he fucking sucks at it, Clint Boyer is the new Darrell Waltrip of this generation. He makes people laugh, then people post it on Twitter, make it a thing, and then you got Kevin Harvick, who the middleman is, and then you got Mike Joy, who's just there.
Right.
Talks about the actual race, and then Kevin Harvick's just like, okay, Clint, calm down. And Clint Boyer's like, oh my god, a wreck!
I will say, I definitely think Mike Joy's time in the booth is coming to an end soon. One, he's 74 years old. He can't keep doing this forever. And two, he just does not seem like he can keep up with a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and he's falling a little bit out of touch. Sure, he seems like he still has a good time in the booth, and he likes being there with the fans and stuff. So I don't think he's gonna quit anytime soon. But at 74, it definitely has to cross your mind, especially with the state of how of Fox's reputation with NASCAR and everything like that too. So, but who knows? Who knows? But that is really all we got to talk about from Sonoma. It was a pretty good weekend, so looking forward to some good stuff next year from there as well. But for now, we'll put it in the books.
Also, by the way, Tyler's pick of the poker chips has lost, so. But I'm giving him a slide because Josh Berry did the gas it in. He did the Ricky Bobby engaged.
Slingshot engaged.
I'm gonna gain 15 spots or take my life away.
Win or go home. If you ain't first, you're last.
You're last. Oh, boy. Everyone remember that.
All right, well, I mean, there's no real other great news to talk about, except I went to the Spartan 100 at our local track. Went with Ann Pomeroy. We had a good time. It was incredibly windy, I must say. It was so windy, dude. I thought our stuff was gonna fly away. The crowd wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, though. They had some other stuff going on there. They did pony stocks. They did the Spartan 100, and then they did this really weird truck race, and then they did figure eights. So there was more stuff than just the Spartan 100, obviously, because it's a quarter mile racetrack. 100 laps doesn't take that long. The racing started about 5 o'clock, and most of it was done during the daytime. I was kind of surprised. I thought they were going to start it later so that they can aim it for a night race, but I guess not. They did the pony stocks first. They did 2 races of pony stocks, and they were pretty fun. Good old, beating the banging type racing. If I was ever going to get into racing, which is still a possibility, I'd probably start with pony stocks because they seem like they were the easiest to drive. But I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they aren't. I don't know. So, but also, then after that was the Spartan 100. I gotta say, they went all out for this race. They brought in big sponsors. They decked the track out. There was like beanbag toss under the grandstands. They had their own little shop set up. There was stuff on the track, like sponsors. They did cool decals on like the wall and in the infield. They had their own special victory lane that they set up. So it was all really, really cool. And they also did a cool autograph session before the race. So you got to go down and look at the cars and meet the drivers if you wanted to and take some pictures and stuff like that. And there was one guy, actually, I'll see if I can show this photo. I sent it to you, Hitmaster. The one car that I really liked was this car. I like this one. This is a cool one because it has Dale Jr.'s number.
I posted Dale Jr. Pog.
That was a cool car. I like that one. Also, this is the program. They misspelled Sunday.
Sunday.
How do you
Sunday?
How do you not? How do you misspell Sunday?
Sunday.
Unbelievable.
Okay, guys, just letting people know who's ever watching this is how you spell Sunday from now on. Saunday. So now, every day that's Sunday, I'm going to say Happy Sunday. I'm going to post that in the general chat.
God.
People are going to be like, what the fuck? But me and Tyler and Ann are going to be like, oh my god.
Anyway, putting that aside, the autograph session was pretty cool. We didn't get any autographs or take any photos. We kind of just walked the grid a couple times, and that was pretty much it. The cars look cool, and then there was 19 drivers listed that were going to start the race. Only 18 did. I guess one was a late show or a no show at all, and didn't get to run the race at all. But it was a good race. I mean, it was 100 laps around the track, and we had one specific driver we were rooting for. It was a 16-year-old girl. Well, she's about to turn 17, but she's 16 now, and definitely the youngest in the field. There was a lot of young drivers, actually, though, in the field. I was surprised. I think she was the youngest, though. She had some big sponsorship, too. I mean, there was a Chevrolet sponsorship. There was Jags. Jags was the sponsor of the series entirely, so obviously there's everything with that. But the racing was really, really good. And the girl in particular, she started like top 5, top 10. Then she fell back to like 14th after a run. But then she slowly started to work her way back up to the front. Despite her front bumper being almost completely gone, she was able to still move guys out of the way and was able to gain a lot of positions. And on a late restart, she sat in 4th place still, which is very, very impressive. Despite a lot of wrecks, despite some engine issues from other drivers, she was able to get past all that and sit in 4th. She ended up finishing in 5th with water spewing out of the car. I think the last 10-15 laps of the race, she was losing water, and it, even despite like 4 cautions during that time, she was able to keep going and finished in 5th, which is very, very impressive. And the water was spewing so much that at the end of the race, the top 5 finishers all parked on the front stretch and they got to do interviews. So she finished 5th, and you could hear the water spewing out of her car when we were like near the top of the grandstands. That's how loud it was. I guess I never noticed how loud and like how much pressure is being released with that. But man, it was loud. I don't remember the guy who won the race, but he was pretty cool. The trophy looked cool too. They did a cool trophy presentation and everything like that. It was honestly a really good race. Lots of bumping and banging. but also just a lot of competitiveness all around the track. So it was really, really cool to see, and I really hope that they come back. I looked up; they go all over the state and even across like the Midwest. They go down to Indiana. They even do a couple races in Nashville as well as going up farther north than we are here in Michigan. So that's really cool too. So it's definitely a series that I want to maybe follow some more, but who knows? Who knows? Who knows? So, but it was a lot of fun. I'm glad they did it. I think the fans that came out really, really enjoyed it as well. So, I really hope they come back. So, it was a cool time. Cool times for sure. Cool times. They really brought it out. I mean, there's a lot of people there from a lot of different places. And a lot of people called this track their home track when it really wasn't their home track. So there you go. But after that race was done, they did this is a really funky truck race. Oh my god, they got 9 of these trucks out there. They put 9 of these trucks out there racing for 20 laps, and oh my god, they were so funny because none of them really had any good like steering. And they were all flying around the track. 2 of them couldn't even keep pace, and one of them was so slow that they blocked in one of the leaders and caused a wreck. It was so funny. Oh my god, I loved it. I was laughing the entire time. It was so much fun. But after that race was over, they did the figure eights, and the figure eights was, the figure eights. We watched a guy in a Pikachu truck T-bone another guy. And then later on, there was a guy who was apparently really popular. Um, he had some motor issues or something, had to pull off the track. And then later on, during our red flag, he comes back out and then absolutely sends it through the cross part of the track and gets walloped, loses a wheel, and goes spinning all across the front part of the track. And brought out another red flag, and he got out of the car, he started cheering, the fans were cheering him on. Oh, it was so much fun. I loved it. So that was cool. That race took forever too, though, because of all the wrecks and stuff. But then it was over, and then we went home. We done like before 9, so it's still technically partially daylight out, which is the reason weirdly why they started at 5. The actual Spartan 100 didn't start till around like 6:30, so you couldn't have just pushed it back a little ways to have it more of a night race. That's just my thought on it, but what do I know? So
I couldn't find anything. What?
that was fun. Um,
Continuing on.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to say about it. I mean, it was good. Had a lot of fun. It was incredibly windy. And I got lots of bottles. Made some money. So good.
I have to say, when you told me about that 16-year-old, I was telling my family about it, and I said, if a 16-year-old can be persistent and, keep up with the guys, I mean, let them race with the big guys. It's not that if you could do it, then any age could do it except for little kids because they can't reach the pedal.
Right. I don't know. I always have a existential crisis when I see people that are younger than me in these races. It makes me wonder what I did with my life, and or am
Trust me, I
doing.
wanted to race a car, but I couldn't because
Epilepsy had to ruin that for me too.
It's like everything else.
Anyway,
Okay.
that's really all I had though for news this week. We were planning on going to Jackson Speedway this Saturday, so I would have talked about it in next week's episode. However, that plan got canceled. So, however, next track I plan on visiting is I-96 Speedway. That is going to be on the 21st. So, not next episode. Or it'll be the episode after that. We'll talk about that, and that'll be fun. So we are kind of considering going to see the Jeg series again at Flat Rock as well on June 22nd. That possibly, maybe not, but possibly. Anyway, so that's kind of the outlook from that front. But unless you had any other news, Hitmaster, I don't know if you do.
Not really. I really didn't watch Sonoma that much. So
Then we can get to our preview of Iowa Speedway. So that should be cool. It's the first ever Cup race at Iowa, and I think that is really cool because it's gonna be a good event. Iowa's been a staple of the Xfinity and Truck Series for a long time, and there's been some really good, finishes at Iowa. So it's going to be cool to see how the Cup Series favors there. Granted, it's not really a short track, mind you. It doesn't fit into the true short track persona. It's kind of like that middle ground between
intermediate
short track and the mile-long tracks. It's around that length. It's not as big as it may seem. So it's going to be interesting to see how the short track package works out there. But I don't know. So
we'll see. We will see.
all right, so it's Xfinity Series and the Cup Series this weekend. So let's make our predictions. Who do we think is going to win the Xfinity?
I'm going to go with Matt DiBenedetto.
Interesting. I'm picking Justin Allgaier because it's not a road course.
Watch Shane Van Gisbergen wins, and then next podcast, I'm going to tell you, I told you so.
That would be pretty insane. Would be surprised if he was able
going back to back.
But then the Cup race. This is kind of a toss-up because it's the first ever Cup race there. But a lot of these drivers in Cup still have some experience on Iowa Speedway. Mainly like Ricky Spinhouse, Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, and many others. So
I think Chase Elliott raced there, once.
Probably did. So there's a lot of drivers that have experience there, but they've never ran there in the next gen car. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out too. Also, shout out to Corey LaJoy. He's running a Iowa Hawkeyes paint scheme this weekend. So that's going to be pretty cool. For any Iowa Hawkeyes fans out there, I am certainly not one of them, but there's going to be a lot of them at the race, I assume. So
it's okay for people that are fans of Iowa. It's okay. You guys can never win a Big Ten championship anyways, because either Michigan State or Michigan have to ruin it for you. Ha!
Since I gave Tyler a pass, he gets to go means I have to get this. I gotta mix it up. Bam. Christopher Bell.
Not bad. Not bad.
Not actually bad.
Can live with that. Can live with that. All right, Gary's
Now I
back.
have to get this 48 out. All right. Please don't be Josh Berry. Please don't be Josh Berry. Please don't be Josh Berry. Anyone but Josh Berry. Well, I guess we both have Joe Gibbs drivers.
Interesting.
So should we work together or should we not work together? Actually, if you think about it, my pick actually has a better chance.
How's
Wait.
that?
Because Ty Gibbs just last year raced Iowa.
True.
I mean, Christopher Bell has raced at Iowa before, but that was a while ago.
Remember that it is Ty Gibbs. So
Okay, but still, he's gotten the pole at some tracks. Okay.
yeah, and so has Danica Patrick. That is wrong, but
No, she's won. She's gotten pole.
so
She got a pole at Daytona. Second place was
So what did
Jeff
that mean?
Gordon. That she can't do nothing but take poles
True.
inside and
Anyway.
outside of the car. Get it? Because she was on the GoDaddy commercials all the time.
Anyway, that's really all we had for this week. Not a whole lot much else to talk about. So, stay tuned. Next week we will recap the events at Iowa and look forward to the rest of the NBC portion of the season. Thank God. Anyway,
Great. And then it'll be USA at Michigan. Great.
well, it's okay. We're gonna be there. Remember? So, no matter.
Maybe. Again, I don't know.
I haven't bought my tickets yet. Probably should do that.
I haven't either. My dad probably doesn't want to, mostly because, NASCAR sucks.
True.
Right now, at least.
True.
Because of stages.
We'll see. Anyway, if you want to be a guest, though, on a future episode of the Talking NASCAR podcast, all you got to do is join the Pringles and Company Discord. Link is in the description down below. Request the Talking NASCAR role from me or Hitmaster, and we will figure out a time to get you on and talk some NASCAR. So, should be a lot of fun. But anyways, stay tuned for other much more amazing content from both me and Hitmaster. Until next time, see you guys later. Goodbye.